Washington law professor Jonathan Turley joins me now. Is there anything you want to say to react to Todd Blanche?
No, a lot of what Todd said resonates, particularly with some of us who watched the trial from in the courtrooms. The fact is that this might have been an impossible task given the instructions that the court ultimately issued. I mean, there was an effective shortening of the football field for the prosecution that may have made this inevitable. I wrote a column yesterday in The Hill that said that it had the feel of a canned hunt, where people are allowed to shoot game in a cage or a small space because the judge created that small space. I disagree with the judge. To this moment, I don't know what the president was convicted of, in the sense that the jury verdict form just says they were unanimous that some secondary crime was the basis of these falsified document violations. So the judge said, you can just pick anything on the menu. You know, there are 3 crimes here: a federal election violation, falsification of documents, a tax violation. Go with any or all of them. So we don't even know if they were unanimous on what actually happened. And in some ways, the form created by the court may ultimately help Donald Trump. There is a unanimity requirement, and it's not clear that the courts will accept this as unanimity, because you could have had a 4-4-4 jury. You could have a jury that had vastly different ideas of what this uncharged conspiracy was all about. But there are layers of reversible error here. And I don't want to add to the anger. There's anger here, and there's unhinged celebration. I think that people can look at this verdict and disagree with it or support it without hating each other. We have a system that's designed to deal with these types of cases. I think this case was not based on the law. I think it was a political prosecution. I think it had layers of reversible error. Many will disagree with me. We have a system designed for that. It's a good system, and it goes beyond Manhattan.
It does.
And this could well go all the way to Washington.
It does, Professor. We have a great system, but the system isn't designed for political show trials. Yes, Trump can win on appeal and everything will be adjudicated properly. Yes, we have a great system. But when the system is abused by politicians and politicized district attorneys before an election, who cares if it's thrown on appeal? You got a convicted felon now who's in the middle of an election. That's not the right system.
Yeah, I agree that I think it's unassailable that this was a political prosecution. Even people on other networks have said this has never been brought before in a case like this. It would never have been brought against anyone other than Donald Trump. That's what was maddening about Bragg's press conference when he said, oh, this is just standard stuff. A lot of us were guffawing. No one's ever seen a case like this. Into the very closing argument, no one could figure out what their theory of prosecution was.
Well, think about that, Professor. You are an esteemed constitutional law professor. You've testified on Capitol Hill. You're a published author. You're a columnist. And you can't tell us what the law was. You can't understand what the theory is. You don't know what the jury decided. Think about that. And this is a former president of the United States.
It's true.
That's what they're bringing.
No, it's true. To this day, with that verdict, I don't know what they thought was the conspiracy. What was that secondary crime? That's obviously not right. And, you know, when I was in the courtroom and the verdict was being read and the word guilty was stated 34 times, I was really shocked by how gleeful some people were. You know, that there's a tendency in our politics to not treat people as people. You know, that this was an individual who's being convicted, I think wrongly. But the level of glee was what was really incredible. When I came out of the courtroom to see the celebration outside of people joyously saying that a former president has been convicted, regardless of how you feel about this case, that's a sad moment for a country. But it's not over. And I think the one thing to take away from Blanche is, I think the important one, he said, tomorrow we're going to get to work. And they need to, because this is a target-rich environment for appeal.
All right, Professor, thank you so much. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.